Welcome to Story Punk. This is Scott, and you're listening to part 2 of our episode on Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey. Drew and I had some more to say about the story and a discussion about the technical aspects as well as the IMAX presentation. So without further ado, let's jump right back into the episode. So speaking of Dunkirk, the cinematographer for this, now I'm not sure if you say his first name is, if it's Hoyte or Hoyte?
Hoyte van Hoytema.
There you go. He was the cinematographer on Dunkirk. He also did Interstellar. He also was the cinematographer for the James Bond movie Spectre. And he also did Jordan Peele's Nope as well.
That guy knows what he's doing.
Yeah, he's done a variety of different types of movies as well. But this is, as I'm sure anyone that's geeks out on this kind of stuff knows, that this is the first narrative feature that was photographed completely using IMAX cameras. So there was no switching formats, and they said it was 610 kilometers of negative, which I don't know what that is. I think someone said it's like 11 miles or something like that. It's very
610 kilometers.
Yeah,
is way more than 11 miles. It's 1.6 kilometers to a mile. They can't possibly be.
That can't be. I don't know. Somebody said, okay, so maybe that's how much they shot. Okay, they said ran through cameras. Okay, because I saw a video of them. I guess the edited footage is like 11 miles of film. That's where I was gonna say, yeah, because I saw that and then I went, wait a minute, they said 11 miles, but they said it was 610 kilometers of 65 millimeter negative. I guess the sprockets are what make up the other.
Well, the whole idea of shooting finally, and of course it's Nolan that's going to do it, shooting the entire film with IMAX cameras, and I didn't realize that there's only 3 minutes on an IMAX cartridge.
Yeah, they
shooting
have to. They do the quick change. I saw that.
But even as an actor, to because you can say, okay, I'm going to do my scene, and then the director will say, okay, let's go again. We don't have to restart because what is a standard 35 millimeter film? That's about 10 minutes, and of course now on video, who cares?
Yeah.
Mad Max Fury Road was like 400 hours of footage or something.
I think about that scene in Boogie Nights. He's like, do we have to change? He's like, no, it's video. We just go and go.
Right. Exactly. Ricky Jay.
Yeah.
But I think I think you see in this movie, you see both the advantages and disadvantages of shooting an entire feature on IMAX, and some of them are more expected than others both ways. But they haven't made a big old-fashioned epic. Like, this is definitely a Nolan movie and it's its own thing, but they haven't said, let's make a David Lean scale gigantic epic in the modern era. And if you're going to do that, of course you're going to do that on IMAX. And they did it all on IMAX.
I think it's interesting. So the way they were able to do this was because it was so loud. I mean, that was the thing. It's so loud. They had a rig that to soften the sound. So he said the old rigs sounded like an unhinged lawnmower. The new ones sounded like a nicely lubricated sewing machine, is what they said. So and the way that this is a little interesting tidbit for whoever wants to know this. They tested the IMAX cameras to see how well they could record dialogue. They had footage of a kid reciting the lyrics to David Bowie's Sound and Vision to see if it was quiet enough to use for dialogue scenes. And that's how they determined, like, hey, we can actually make this work, because otherwise they would have to do everything ADR, which I know some actors really hate doing that, coming back in, and because you have to, I mean, it's got to be mentally taxing because you have to go in and you have to match the emotion, and everything, but you're not in the scene. You're in a booth, and I guess that's fine if you're doing an audio play or something like that. But it's quite a different thing to recreate something that you were on a set with another actor doing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I also saw that they did this, and I actually didn't write this down, but I actually saw a video of just like a short little segment where they because the cameras are so big, sometimes what they do with a normal camera that can be very quiet, that when they are doing a close up of sort of like some kind of like intimate conversation scene, the actor that is off camera that the actor on camera is playing to in the close up, a lot of times that actor will stand next to the camera to help their scene partner out. They can't really do that because with the IMAX, even with the quieter sound, because it's so big, so they would be too far over to the side. So what Christopher Nolan did
This is so clever.
Did you see it? He came with
amazing.
It's like a mirror box system so that they could actually put the mirror like closer proximity to where the actual lens was. And I was like, who thinks of this shit?
Well, it's so funny because, he tried to do and basically did everything in camera. Not that there isn't CGI enhancements and stuff, but he shot on locations. He built, normally in a modern movie, you show, 500 soldiers in front of Troy. So you get 40 soldiers and you repeat them digitally, and you build a relatively low piece of a set, and then you digitally, enhance and build it, the city skyline over that. And he built all of that stuff. They were on real ships on the real ocean and like all those crazy things. And it all works and everything. And it's really very incredibly
the
well
scene
done.
That did it for me, and it happens very early on, is when they're pulling the Trojan horse out of the sand, and it's just all these extras, and it's like if that is not 100% real, then they did a goddamn fantastic job, because that looks, every single person is individual, and they're all pulling,
and it is real,
horse, and it is. That's what I'm saying.
It's Fitzcarraldo. It's actual human beings hooking up actual ropes and pulling an actual steamship over a mountain. It's crazy. You
could just tell. I mean, I will say, green screen has really evolved, and sometimes it can be hard to tell. But I feel like when you see the real thing, you're like, that's the real thing,
right? Well, there's a lot of people who could have made, a very good movie of the Odyssey, and they would have shot most of it in the volume.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't even realize the Batman that Matt Reeves did with Robert Pattinson.
Yeah.
So much more of that was in the volume than I realized. I knew that, Batman meets Catwoman and other characters in that construction site, skyscraper, and it's always magic hour or whatever. You do that in the volume, you can make it magic hour for all day, that kind of stuff. But like the big action set piece car chase where he's chasing the Penguin, a lot of that is in the volume.
Really?
And I didn't know that. It doesn't mean they don't do real cars or anything, but I mean, you can pull that stuff off. It's amazing. But Christopher Nolan, of course. Every interview with every actor that I saw, they were like, "This was the hardest movie I've ever worked on." And, we had to get to this set by walking for an hour, that kind of stuff. And they loved every second of having been able to do it. It was so special for them to work on it.
Jane said one of the things that she never really thought about, and I think this is a testament just to the way that it looked. She goes, I never really thought about cities like that back then, like what they looked like at night. You know what I mean? Because
that's interesting, and the torchlight and everything.
When you see these movies, a lot of that stuff takes place during the day, and that whole scene with not even just Troy, but there were a few scenes in Ithaca that were like, at least like when it was getting dark out, and it's just it looks amazing. One of the things that
well, it's because obviously he built all of that, and he built that giant statue of Athena, and he built the horse. Crazy.
They built the building that is on screen for what? Not even a minute, that collapses in the fall of Troy. That is like
well, he is the guy that made Tenet. Where buildings collapse and uncollapse.
Sure. Or Inception, where they fold on top of each other.
There you go.
But for that whole raid on Troy, I mean, they and so to kind of speak to what like Jane was saying when she was saying the way it looked at night, like they did all kinds of things with like lighting, these portable LED things to kind of match the color temperature. So that they wanted to have everything set up and in place so that the camera could move. I guess it's almost like that. Now I wonder how much they could do this using the IMAX camera, because even though it's quieter, it's still a big contraption. So how do you if you want to pull off that documentary style, which you can't really do. It's not like
it's more effective watching all of Odysseus's men run across the beach from the Lesrogonians at a low angle.
Bring up well, actually, let me bring up the IMAX thing.
Well, let me say one other thing. What I liked also about the experience of watching it, and I mean, I love movies. I love learning how they're made, all that kind of stuff. I could, at the same time, appreciate the work and the practical nature and the obviously real locations and all that kind of stuff, as I was also completely locked into the story and everything. And I think it's so clever because people were making movies in camera, for most of the history of making movies,
sure,
including miniatures and other practical things. But like, I wrote an ad, God, I don't even know, 20 plus years ago or something. And we shot it in San Francisco, and we hired a director, and he wanted to get some shots that were more dramatic than just the talent speaking to the camera or talking to each other. So they set up mirrors. And then shot up into the mirrors, so you could get a much higher angle or a much different angle or all that kind of stuff. And that is one of those things that's very simple and also how incredibly clever.
Yeah.
And I felt that sort of approach leaking or coming through as I was watching it. And that's also, what is this, Nolan's 13th feature or something?
Yeah.
And that's working with a lot of the same people over years, over different movies, and that's the advantage that you get of being Steven Spielberg or Christopher Nolan or George Miller or Michael Mann or any of those guys. And I one of the, even the stuff that didn't quite work production wise, we learned one big thing that IMAX cameras don't work for, even though it didn't suck, is close combat. Because the big scene at the end with the suitors is well done. But it doesn't have the flexibility of a John Wick or something like that, where the camera can get into the action the same way. Yet it didn't take me out of it, and it didn't bother me because I wanted him to win. I wanted him to survive.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, I think what they did with that, they just did a lot of long takes from further away, and I mean, I was fine with that. It does. I know what you're saying. It's not. I mean,
it's not that it doesn't work.
Yeah, I'll go for that over the a million quick cuts, because I hate that. It was I think for a time people were doing that because, I mean, obviously you can cover a lot of stuff by doing that, cover a lot of mistakes or whatever. But I think it was just a thing for a while, and then it became
because
apparent.
Because it's supposed to give you velocity, essentially. It's supposed to give you the momentum. And when I think of the last fight, what do I think of the most? I think of Odysseus stringing the bow, of him plucking it, which they've established in the movie, of the way that the score perfectly syncs with that tone. And then I think of, while he's doing it, it keeps cutting to Robert Pattinson looking increasingly nervous. Yeah. And then I love the shot when he does that and he plucks it, and Penelope turns around and everybody's like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
And Robert Pattinson, who is essentially the leader of the suitors, was charged with, looking after Penelope and Telemachus by Odysseus when he left, and obviously has not done that job. Pattinson immediately retreats out of focus because he doesn't matter as a person. He doesn't that's not some really cool scene of Odysseus cutting people down, or people throwing spears into him, or shooting people with arrows. That's a very human moment of cowardice and a character paying off. And IMAX or not, that didn't not work.
Well, so. I think a lot of times those the emotion kind of pushes this, especially when we see. And Jane said, she goes, I couldn't wait for that scene where Robert Pattinson's character gets his comeuppance, and it's that is a close in scene where especially where he takes the lot and shoves it into his mouth.
I was going to say, the whole, we haven't really talked about the Sinon story, and again, it's not in the Odyssey, it's in the Aeneid. This character, and the way that Nolan did that, and the way that that Nolan essentially came up with this, incredible extra layer for Antinous being a big piece of shit. It's essentially, they draw lots to see who's going to go to Troy. So it's like the reaping in the Hunger Games type of thing, where you can substitute yourself, and essentially Antinous lets his little brother, who's a child.
No, he's not his brother. It's a shepherd's son.
Oh, sorry, the shepherd's son. He lets a substitute go because he needs to say his important stuff to do, and he's an important guy and all this kind of stuff. Sure. And so he lets. I'm not saying that that's
no. I know you're being.
But he,
sarcastic.
and for Sinan's, role in making the Trojan Horse work, and Sinan's role in, as being betrayed by Odysseus and all that kind of stuff is all very powerful. And then, as you say, to have him pay that off at the end, really, really works. And there's that story. I mean, you know me, I love it. I love the endings, but I was kind of waiting the whole movie to say, please nail it. Please nail it. And Nolan has done a lot of movies with really satisfying endings, like Dunkirk, like Interstellar, like The Prestige. Really incredibly well done stuff. And he's done stuff that I didn't really care one way or the other. Like, I'll just be sacrilegious. I think Memento is so boring, even though I appreciate the filmmaking craft of it. But I think the way that he decided to tell the story is very powerful. And that reminds me, this is a combination of how the movie is made and also how the story is told. If you look at the underworld scene, which is, I think we were just talking about this before, that's like 10 minutes of music and everything. The way that they interpret it is, shooting it on a beach in Iceland and all that kind of stuff is very effective and very powerful. And their conception of death is different than ours. But without calling attention to itself, it's very loyal and faithful to the way that the original text is done, because the characters in the underworld, they move in 3 ways. You know about this?
Are you talking about the fact that that they come up from the ground, or was the way he floats back and forth?
Right. Well,
because he didn't die in battle.
No.
Okay.
So most of those soldiers move like they would have in life, which is why when literally hundreds of dead people start chasing, our crew, it's pretty intense.
I don't want to lose track of what we were talking about before about the cinematography. So we're kind of like really going.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I just wanted to talk about like the what I wanted to talk about as far as the IMAX experience, though, is that what I wanted to say. We were talking about how that it was, and this comes into the whole thing about like Hades too, is that there are a lot of scenes in this movie of dudes running.
Yes.
And while IMAX is a format that is it's really a vertical, but because of the aspect ratio, you have more horizontal space too. That when I saw since I saw it on regular screen and I saw it on an IMAX screen, the thing that I noticed was I'm not saying you have to see this movie in IMAX, but I will say that it is a richer experience for seeing it, because there are specific scenes, one when they're running from the giants and on that beach, and two when they're running in Hades, that horizontal space, when I having seen it in IMAX first and then seeing it on a regular screen, I do notice that the horizontal space was compressed. I felt it, because I just felt like that scene especially when they're running onto the beach.
Wait, which format was compressed?
The regular screen. I felt like
the wider screen felt more narrow. You're saying?
Yeah.
Versus the IMAX.
When I'm watching the regular screen, I felt like it felt like it was cut off.
Got it.
Yeah, because I didn't have that horizontal space playing out. So when they're all running down the hills and onto the beach trying to get back into their boats when the giants are chasing them, that is I felt like there was something felt off, but it only felt off to me because I had seen it in IMAX first. And then when they're running in Hades, when they're running back to their boat, there's those scenes, to me, it just felt like, I think if I had never seen it in IMAX, I probably wouldn't have felt that way. Mm-hmm. But seeing it in IMAX and then seeing it on a regular screen, I did. That was like, this scene just felt different. The other thing I noticed too in IMAX, some of the dark scenes in the non-IMAX screens felt a little too dark. So now that could be a theater thing. So I don't know how I have no idea. I don't know the ways.
That could just be that movies tend to run too dark because they don't want to run the bulb at full intensity.
Yeah, and so that's
I
I'm not very wise in the
irritating,
way of theaters and how they set things up. But I do know in the screen that I saw, this like some of the scenes in the Cyclops cave, just a little too dark, just a little bit too dark. But when I saw it on the IMAX screen, everything looked balanced. I felt like I felt like there were certain things I was like, I'm missing. I can't see what I can't see what I felt like what was intended to be seen. This wasn't like the scene in Game of Thrones where it was just like they just didn't know what the hell they were doing when they were.
Well, unless you watch, like you're talking about like the battle with the Night King.
Yeah.
So if you watch it on the 4K disc, apparently, it's much more visible.
Oh, okay.
And not because they decided to lighten it up, but because it looks the way that it's supposed to look.
It was intended, yeah.
And I mean, like, I think the Cyclops, I think that my experience of the movie was some of it was like, wow, this is actually pretty dark, but I'm not surprised because that's a lot of how, theatrical projection is these days, which is a frustration.
Yeah.
Never mind if you put on 3D glasses, which are tinted, and that puts me off of, especially like a Pixar movie or something like that. But I think that the darkness is effective in certain sections, like the Cyclops cave.
Yeah.
When you first see Polyphemus come out, he comes out of the darkness, and he's really unsettling, mostly because his one eye is a very human-looking eye turned 90 degrees.
Yeah.
And also, what it looks like is what I then learned what it was, which is it's a 60-foot puppet. It's, of course, run by Bill Irwin, who's an incredible mime and clown and actor. And he also does the robot. He does Tars and Interstellar and all that kind of stuff. And so, again, another guy who's worked with Nolan before and all that kind of stuff. So I think that I don't know if I wouldn't say that Nolan said, well, some of these movies, because he's real anal about how his stuff is projected and the sound and everything. I don't think he said, well, I'm not going to win the battle. Some of these movies are going to be too dark, so I'll just make I'll lean into it, because it's a cave, and they shot that in the real cave, like literally the cave that story is supposed to have taken place in, and they blocked it with the rock and all that kind of stuff. Also, who the fuck goes into a cave that smells bad and starts stealing
flies
and starts stealing the fucking cheese? That is so gross. And unpasteurized cheese, which may make our Secretary of Health and Human Services happy, but oh my God,
you're not a scientist.
But yeah, no, I think I think this is also a movie where people have chased the formats. If you really like it, I mean, you see people on Reddit and stuff. They're like, well, I saw it in standard. I saw it in 70 millimeter. I was lucky enough to see it in 70 millimeter IMAX, which those tickets have been sold out for months or whatever. So I think I would like to see it again, and I would be perfectly happy seeing it in the same sort of standard projection. But I am curious to see it in that as well.
And that's why I said that I'm one of those people that's. I'm not one of those like IMAX evangelists and saying like, oh, if you don't see it in that, then don't bother seeing it.
Right. No, I'm not getting that from you.
Yeah, I definitely think I will just say if you're able to and you have the opportunity, I would see it in IMAX, but I think watching it, like, I didn't get the feeling like I was like, oh my God, your experience is going to be ruined. You're not going to like the movie as much as if you just see it like in the format that I saw it.
Right.
And I saw it. It's been out now for, I guess what's it been, 3 weeks at this point. So we saw it was actually at the theater I saw it. It was actually in one of the smaller theaters at this point.
Which one did you see it in?
I saw it at the Horizon Theater.
Oh, also the Horizon.
But it was the small theater.
Gotcha. Not the Atmos.
It wasn't even the Atmos one. So it was a
I think it's also, I mean, like when Fury Road came out, I saw it 5 times in the theaters, including one of the re-releases. And I saw it in standard, I saw it in 3D, I saw it in 2D IMAX. I know which one I liked better, and I also know a lot of that stuff. I know which one I thought was worth the extra $7 surcharge or whatever. But none of them were like, oh, I wish I hadn't seen it that way. That sucked.
I know.
And I got to imagine
that way, though.
No, I know. And also, I mean, what I'm most excited to see, I want to watch the Odyssey at home.
Yeah.
I'm really curious to see how it is at home, because I think it will feel different, but I also think it will be just as absorbing. My cousin came to visit. He lives in San Francisco and in Wellington, New Zealand, and he came to visit last week. and we had a wonderful visit. Thank you, TJ. But also he made my heart flutter because we were like, let's watch a movie. And I said, well, what do you want to watch? And he said, let's watch Fury Road. So obviously once I picked myself up off the floor from passing out in joy, we did that. And, that was like, I haven't sat down and watched that movie in years, like just sat down and watched it all the way through. And I watched it at home, and that was a very special experience. So when this comes out on disc, which I presume will be sometime this fall, that's another time. I want to see it again in the theater, and it ain't going anywhere, so I have some time.
Yeah.
And if I end up seeing it in a few weeks, and it is in one of those sort of smaller theaters, I don't think it'll be any less powerful. But I think it's also really cool that you got to see it in the the sort of regular version of the IMAX.
And I have to say, and I don't know if you know this. I've probably said this before. I very rarely see a movie more than once in the movie. I mean, I've probably in my life, I've maybe seen 10 movies more than once in the theater.
Counting like re-releases and stuff. Because sometimes a movie hasn't been out in 20 years and they put it back on the theater, and I'm very rarely go see it. I think I may have taken like. Well, you have kids too. So.
I may have taken my brother to see like the re-release of like when. Like in the 90s, when they brought the Star Wars movies back,
the special editions.
Yeah, I may have taken him to see that. But honestly, I'm like,
well, you were more interested in seeing, Meet Wally Sparks anyway. So,
but I saw, I've seen very few movies. I saw like, I'm trying to think. I saw Return of the Jedi more than once. I saw Die Hard, Misery. It's very few. I'm trying to think now what else I saw.
I've actually done that more recently. Like I saw Project Hail Mary twice.
Yeah.
I saw, Saving Private Ryan in 1998. I saw that 4 times in the theater. Because sometimes it's kind of like I'm not going to get to do this again.
Yeah.
And it's that special experience. And sometimes I just don't want to wait.
Yeah.
So it kind of depends on what moves you to it. Like they re-released some of the Lord of the Rings movies recently, and I was like, oh, I'll go to that. And I didn't get around to doing that, so I watched it at home and had a great time. Yeah. It's fine. But I would like to see, some of these movies again at the scale of a theater, as long as people can behave themselves. And when I saw the Odyssey at Horizon, it was packed. And everybody was cool and everybody was into it. It was even better than the other movie that I will only see once that I saw at Horizon, which was Evil Dead Burn, and you can skip that one.
So, hey, just a couple other things that I wanted to talk about. And this is just a random note. Christopher Nolan insisted on real facial hair.
Yes, everybody grew their beards. Yeah,
and also for Robert Pattinson, he based his character off of James Woods' Lester Diamond from Casino.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he said he wanted to be sleazy.
He's such an interesting actor, Robert Pattinson. It's so funny that he and Kristen Stewart were the Twilight people, and then they've both built these really unexpectedly excellent, not that they weren't good actors, but like really unexpectedly excellent careers.
Sometimes,
and Pattinson's already done, he's done only 2 movies with Nolan, because he did Tenet and he did this one. And I do like when a director, not as much as Tarantino does, for example, but builds a bit of a repertory feel and brings people back.
Yeah,
and Matt Damon. Yeah, it was Scorsese. I mean, Matt Damon's now been in 2 Nolan movies, and I think was a very interesting choice to play Odysseus.
Yeah,
because he's obviously he's a good-looking guy, but he's not some super handsome. Like movie star. And I mean, I think if Robert Pattinson played Odysseus, it would have been an excellent performance. But I found Matt Damon kind of disarming. Mm-hmm. And again, that's a production choice that just worked.
A few more technical things to talk about. I thought, Jennifer Lame she actually won the Oscar for Oppenheimer. It's her 4th Nolan movie. Mm-hmm. In addition, she also did she edited Tenet. She did Marriage Story with Adam Driver and
lighthearted fun.
Yeah, lighthearted fun.
And Scarlett Johansson and Laura Dern. She must really like lighthearted fun because she also edited her Hereditary and Manchester by the Sea, 2 other very lighthearted movies. Those are so funny. Those are so funny.
But I have to say, I mean, I think it's always challenging to sort of wrangle a movie that has a non-linear style, and it's at 172 minutes. I feel like the movie feels shorter than it is, and especially, I think that's seeing it a second time and not. I still didn't look at my watch the second time because I kind of know the beats, and I'll tell you, I saw it. There was a very bad storm that rolled through here on Friday. The power went out twice while we were watching the movie. Thankfully, the power went out during not very critical scenes. They were actually the perfect times for it to go out. It was like when Telemachus is talking to Telemachus. I always get Tom Holland was talking to
John Bernthal.
No, to Anne Hathaway about like when they were talking about she was making the shroud.
Mm-hmm.
Like that part is when it went out, and then there was one part when they were being mean to the dog. When I was like, "That's fine, they can go out there in that part."
Well, I'm glad that clearly the power outages had read runp.com and decided to.
There you go. Yeah. So, but those were but so I know we were sitting there and I was like, "Is this like gonna come back on?" And then it did, and then we were fine. It was actually good because Jane's she's got a small bladder. She's like, "Oh, perfect." So she ran.
I had to leave the movie to tinkle, so yeah. I get it.
And I have to say, so Ludwig Göransson is this is his third.
He's an amazing
collaboration.
Composer.
He also did Tenet, Oppenheimer. I have actually
The Mandalorian.
Oh, that's right, The Mandalorian. Well, he's done a lot of stuff. He did Sinners. He did. I actually like the Tenet score more than I like the movie.
That's not hard.
Yeah, and
same with Oppenheimer.
I haven't seen Oppenheimer. I don't know.
I really don't care for it.
But he is. He's just. I'm very big on like sort of like non-traditional scores. That's why I like a lot of Trent Reznor scores. I mean, I was always a Nine Inch Nails fan, but he intentionally tries to make like traditional instruments not sound like they normally do, and so with Ludwig Göransson, like Nolan's, he had one small note. He said no orchestra because he didn't want it to sound like Ben-Hur or Gladiator.
And it sure doesn't.
Didn't want it to sound. He wanted to avoid the whole orchestral signature, swelling strings. And dude, this totally works for me. I love. One of the things they did is they made these bronze gongs, and then played them through synthesizers. I just really appreciated all that unusual percussion.
Well, and also, I mean, what is it? The shepherd's flute.
It's a
what is that called?
It's AULOS. It's
Okay.
It's like a double flute.
Right. Yeah.
You see it in all those paintings and stuff like that from that.
Well, and
that
also
era.
I mentioned this before, the Albanian isopolyphony, that specific kind of choral singing.
Yeah.
That is, I mean, it's clearly human voices.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I've never heard anything like that, or
Yeah.
certainly never heard it applied like that. This was a gigantic epic movie that didn't make me think there's a little bit missing in the muscle of this score because there isn't an orchestra. Like, it was just incredible. Especially I can't stop listening to that.
Towards the end of the Hades thing, like I think it's like the last like 2 or 3 minutes of that, like it's just a little over 10 minutes long. The vocals start coming in, and it's so like creepy, and it's like perfect because that's the part where they told and the guy did the pig head voice from They Will Kill You, James Remar.
Yes,
it was
he plays Tiresias.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when he said this is for your ears only, he tells them basically about that, you can either go around the whirlpool,
right? Yeah,
and 6 people will die, or you can go through the whirlpool and you all die.
Yeah.
And then the soldiers start advancing, the dead soldiers, and then they're all running back.
A lot of running, like you said,
and it's just like, and it's that there's the running from the Cyclops, though, is more vertical because they're going down the hill. That's creep. The way they did that scene, not to jump away from the score here, but that scene when he goes into the water, because I'm sitting there going like, is he going to go into the water? And he goes into the water like, oh shit. Well, that's the same way I felt with the Giants too. When the Giants went into the water and started rocking the boat,
it's a little unsettling.
Like, holy shit! But yeah, so like that, all that sound. But yeah, the that reeded instrument, they actually had to consult with archaeologists so they could recreate the reeds, because obviously none of those reeds lasted that they could accurately just like use as a model, because obviously thousands of years.
Yeah.
Reed instruments don't tend to last. But they they use that, and that's like you hear that, and that melody that kind of plays through, because you even hear that they even play a little bit of that in the Hades piece. There's a little bit of that kind of plays through. It's that sort of that melancholy kind of sound that you hear. I forget what the piece is actually called, but if you listen,
I keep going back to some of the more lyrical, sensual pieces, like the sirens. Which is one of the most incredible scenes.
I
in the
was
movie.
Disappointed that nobody got turned into a horny toad.
Well, I mean, that's one. I mean, that's one that's up there with Argos and some of the other moments. When I think of the story, long before the movie, and because Odysseus is like, well, tie me to the mast. I want to hear it.
Yeah.
So he's basically the only person that's ever heard the sirens and survived. And what he talks about, what he feels, and about what you hear. And it's everything you want, and then everything that you've lost that you can't have anymore, that you already used to have. Like all this incredible, it's a beautiful and incredibly powerful stuff. And then the big piece for me, and I mean for a lot of people, it's just called Odysseus, and that's when he tells the story, I believe, to Penelope through the screen. Mm-hmm. Of what actually happened in Troy. And it's especially like, I think it's almost exactly 3 minutes and 45 seconds in is when it really just gets big. And also it's incredible that it gets big with such a relatively limited sounding, complement of instruments, and that's amazing. And the last music when they sail off to chase the escaping sun, it's just really a beautiful score. And Ludwig Göransson, I mean, I really don't like Oppenheimer. I feel like the first half hour of Oppenheimer is watching a trailer for the movie Oppenheimer, and then I think it's really irritating some of the storytelling choices that they make. And also, if you want to watch a movie from the same, might even be the same year, that's about like what are the actual human consequences of the atomic bomb, just watch Godzilla -0. It's much better. But the score that he wrote for Oppenheimer, that ain't the problem. I mean, it's really incredible stuff. Incredible stuff.
I have to say, so my favorite scenes, though, definitely in this movie, I have to say, the Hades, so good. But I love the whole fall of Troy, like the first part of it. That with them trying to open the gate, it's just so like. Everything from the moment that he drops down out of the belly of the horse, like up until like just basically that whole scene until they come in and they start.
Well, especially when you know that the horse is full of seawater, poop, and drowned and dead soldiers.
Yeah,
I'd want to get out too. Finally.
That is, I'll tell you something. Here's a quick little interesting story. My very first exposure to what the Trojan Horse was, because I didn't know. I think I was in 4th grade, and there was this book I read called The Big Joke Game, which I would love for them to turn this into a movie, but it would be like a crazy movie, and they probably haven't done it because Jumanji has been made. But basically, what it is, it's about a kid who gets sucked into a board game called The Big Joke Game, and there's all these like crazy like set pieces in the book, and one of them is the Trojan Horse, and that's where I heard the first joke where because he has this guardian devil with him in the book, and but it's not really a guardian devil, he's really a guardian angel. Spoiler for a book that's out of print. It's been out of print for like 20 years. And he tells him, he said, they said beware of gifts bearing Greeks, but they should have said beware of gifts bearing Greeks. And I always thought that was funny when I was a kid, but I actually did. The first time I heard it, I didn't understand it because I didn't know the story.
Right.
And then my parents explained the story to me. I was like, oh, that's very funny. Anyway, that was my first exposure to. So that was my first exposure to the
Trojan Horse.
To the Trojan Horse.
Which I guess technically you should call the Greek horse, but whatever.
Yeah. Well, it was a gift to the Trojans. So
that's true.
So
those morons, they fell for it. But I mean, of course, they fell for it because who would betray Zeus's law?
That's right. Well, apparently Odysseus quite a few times.
Right, he's very clever.
He's very clever.
Oh God, I mean the performances in this movie. We haven't even. One of my favorite actresses is Samantha Morton, and it's so funny because people talk about how, like, you could. I mean, I think this movie will be nominated for probably all the Oscars.
Yeah, probably.
And some people are like, well, Samantha Morton, she's incredible, and I guess there's a scene that one of the stories from behind the scenes is that like she did one of her takes that she did in that scene, and I don't know if it was part of when she's massaging the men into pigs, which was all done practically, which is insane.
Yeah.
Like the whole crew clapped, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And she's just an incredible actress, and I'm sure she'll has as good a chance as anybody of being nominated. But some people go, well, I mean, she's not really in the movie that much. Didn't they give Judi Dench an Oscar for Shakespeare in Love for like 8 minutes? Like I don't care how long somebody's been in the movie.
They've given people.
You shouldn't nominate her for lead actress, but she is an incredibly memorable part of the movie.
Jack Palance got the supporting actor for City Slickers. I think he's in the movie for 10 minutes.
Right.
Not even.
And I mean, look, I mean, you want to nominate Charlize Theron's fishnet outfit as Calypso, I'm down with that. So,
but I mean, like that. So I will tell you about that scene.
The Cersei scene.
Yeah, the Cersei scene.
Cersei scene.
Say that 10 times fast.
Cersei scene.
But anyway, no, don't really. But anyway, that scene, I actually found the massaging and transforming the men into pigs. That part wasn't as disturbing to me as them being overcome and not being able to stop eating, because if you've ever experienced choking on some food, that's incredible. So that scene was actually almost like triggering to me because that happened to me once.
Well, it's fucking gross.
But it is gross. But if you've ever like almost like choked on food, there's a split second where you go, I'm gonna die.
Yeah,
and that's how. And I'm sitting there, and they're like shoving the noodles and the meat in their mouth, and their faces are getting red. And I was like, oh my god! Like I really that part was more disturbing to me than when she is like transforming their heads into the pigs, and that was very.
That's why I'm especially proud of the several times I've successfully used the Heimlich maneuver on people who were choking like that, and I've actually done it on my dog.
Yeah, it's
gotta be terrifying. And what's also it was because you're not really sure what are they eating, and I mean, is it human flesh? Is it magic? Whatever it is, and the way it sort of turns into those like I guess like gray strips and stuff, and like of course they would choke on that. Like it's really unsettling. And by that point, you've gotten to know. And maybe even kind of cared about something because the casting is very strategic. There's nobody in Odysseus' Men that's as big a star as some of the other people that show up in the movie. Yeah. But there's a bunch of faces of people that you know. You recognize Himesh Patel. You recognize this guy's been in 40 movies and 10 TV shows, all that kind of stuff. So you have a connection with some of them, and of course they are all gonna die.
Yeah.
So.
So there's really only one other thing that I wanted to bring up of note that I thought was interesting is that did you know that Christopher Nolan was actually attached to direct Troy?
I did hear that actually, yeah.
And then he passed, and Wolfgang, I mean, he didn't pass away. He passed on the project, and Wolfgang Peterson took it, and then Nolan did Batman Begins instead. And he said he actually felt like he was probably would have been a little bit over his head and to do Troy, and he said he spent the next 20 years becoming qualified.
Look, sometimes these things take a long time and it doesn't work out. Like Gangs of New York was 25 years in development, and sometimes it does work out. Like I don't know if I've mentioned Mad Max Fury Road this episode, but that was like 20 years after they tried to start doing it, basically. And Christopher Nolan was the right guy, clearly the right time to make this movie, and maybe. If he'd made it 20 years ago, Elliot Page wouldn't have been old enough to make such an incredible impression in the movie, like that kind of stuff. So it's very powerful. And I will say, the people in this movie have been, and Christopher Nolan have been everywhere promoting it. Yeah, and they are all really entertaining. There's so many great clips of interviews out there and all this kind of stuff. And one of my favorites is, I guess, Tom Holland and. I don't remember if it was Tom Holland and Zendaya or Tom Holland, Zendaya and Anne Hathaway or something, but they talked about how like sometimes they would go to the set just to watch. Yeah. And they watched the scene where Cersei turned the men into pigs. Yeah. And they saw it, which is it's unbelievable how they did this all practically and stuff. And then they saw the movie and they were like, I was there. Yeah. And I don't know how they did that. Yeah. Like it's just incredible. So if people are kind of on the fence about seeing it, I think it's well worth seeing. And of all the big movies that were coming out in 2026, I'll be honest, this was one of the ones I was least interested in. And the first trailer,
I wasn't thinking about it at all.
Yeah,
it wasn't on my radar.
the first trailer, people got so excited about, and I was like, I don't know. And I think some of that's because it's Christopher Nolan, and I don't always trust that I'll be really into it.
I think I talked about it on our. I believe I talked about it when we did our thing at the beginning of the year about what we were looking forward to. But I think if I remember correctly, I was saying I was mainly just looking forward to it because it was Christopher Nolan, so I knew it would probably be. He's somebody that is going to take care when he's making his movie. Even if even if he has a bad movie, he's never phoning it in.
Yeah, it's not bad because he doesn't have talent or skill or discipline. Maybe just don't like the story. You know what I mean? Like Tenet is not. I didn't see Oppenheimer, but Tenet is. I felt like was unnecessarily. I don't know if I necessarily say it was confusing because I understood what was going on, but it was. Well, it was almost a cartoonish. It was almost a cartoonish version of a lot of the stuff that people don't like about how he makes. Not so much his movies, but how he makes movies. Like his whole thing, people were saying it really started with stuff like when the first Dark Knight Rises trailer came out, and it's the first scene of the movie where Bane's on the plane, and then they grab the guy and they go to another plane, all that kind of stuff. But the whole thing was they pull the mask off of Bane, and it's a great costume. It's really intense. And then Aidan Gillen is the CIA agent. He says something to Bane, and Bane is like, so they actually had to change how they did it because people couldn't understand it. And Bane's voice is great. Yeah. But there's a whole thing in Tenet where I mean, part of the mystery is like, who's Kenneth Branagh? He's the villain. Who is he? What is he really doing? And I didn't realize when I watched the movie, and I watched it on HBO with everybody else, during lockdown and stuff. And then I actually watched it again later because I was like, does this movie really suck? Did I miss something? What am I doing? And I actually put the subtitles on. There's a scene where they're on a sailboat, and I think it's a catamaran, so it's one of those things where you go out and you basically hang off the side of it as it tacks and as it goes so fast and everything. And protagonist and who's Washington and Kenneth Branagh, they have a whole conversation. You can't hear any of it. Yeah. Apparently, that conversation was Kenneth Branagh almost literally saying, "Here's my plan." Yeah. And here's why I'm doing what I'm doing. And that kind of stuff is so irritating because Christopher Nolan will say things like, well, dialogue is just a part of the sound mix and it doesn't always matter if you understand it, blah, 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 blah. This movie didn't fall into any of those traps. Yeah. It really didn't fall into any of those things. And when Tom Holland said, "My dad's coming home," I didn't have trouble hearing it. And then I got over it. So,
yeah. So was there anything? I don't think that I had anything else to add other than that. I think that was sort of my last thing about him almost directing Troy. Did you have anything else to add?
No, I recommend people see it, and if they get a chance to see it in the theater, it's definitely worth it.
I mean, I liked Project Hail Mary. I do like this movie better, but I think it's just. But I don't think that Project Hail Mary was.
It's not this movie's fault that it's not in space. And that's our next episode.
Sure.
Which is probably my favorite Nolan movie.
So. All right. Well, then I say that's a wrap on the Odyssey, and we'll be back next week for Interstellar, yet another Chris Nolan movie. But hey, why don't you follow us on your favorite podcast platform, or you can follow us directly at www.storypunk.com.
Or even on the services you don't like.
Sure, yes. I mean, your least favorite one you could go to. I don't know why you would, but you could.
We're available.
And we're also on Instagram at StoryPunkPod, and you can check out our Facebook page for updates. And we are also on Letterboxd, which I heard is being bought by. Are they being bought by Netflix?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Hopefully not.
Hopefully they'll be bought by Goodreads.
No, not by Goodreads. Then.
Well, that's Amazon anyway, isn't it?
Oh, is it?
I think so.
Actually, Anyway. So hey, but I am actually Storypunk Scott on Letterboxd, and Drew is also on is also on Letterboxd.
I'm on Storypunk and I'm on Letterboxd.
Yes, he is.
On Letterboxd, I am Solid Gould.
Great, and I guess that's it. And remember, story matters.